So for this example, I'm going to start with this model in particular. You can see that I have 2 towers here, right, and a podium. This is really typical in a lot of buildings, and I want to showcase the first step, which is that project setup in your workflow. As a BIM manager, a lot of times I'm tasked with setting up all the views and sheets in a project. Sometimes this takes a week or more. Clients bring me onto a project and task me with just a week of setting up views and sheets. This is a really low level task that I can now automate and create really quickly using BIMrx Core and my Sheet View Manager, and allows me to now spend less time on this and focus my efforts elsewhere on the project. So, right, like I said, I have these 2 towers, which are going to require me to create a few different steps to set up my documentation set, right? I have to first create an initial view plan. Then I'm going to have to create dependent views for each of my towers here. You can see the scope boxes that define those towers. Then I'm going to create my sheets, and then I'm going to place those views on my sheets. Now, before BIMrx, this would take me so long. But now, not only can I actually use the BIMrx interface in Revit, so I can come here to my views and use the different tabs to create my sheets within the interface here. Or the real game changer here is the ability to use Excel to create all of my views and sheets. I can actually export all of the information out from my model that will host all the views in my model, the sheets in my model, the templates, the scope boxes, etc., that I can then have in my Excel file and use as a basis to populate that Excel file with that information. So here I'm going to open that Excel file, and you can see here that all of that information was exported into that lookup table, right? All my view types, my levels, my templates, etc. I can then come back to one of these tabs here for my views, my sheets, or my placement, and begin to fill out that information. You can see here that this is an example of an Excel file that I've already filled out to create those initial views in my project. I've pre-filled out all the Excel files I need for here, just for the ease of this demo and to show you how easy it is once you have your Excel files filled out to create all the views and sheets in your project. So I'm going to come and load in that first Excel file. And you can see that it's going to fill out all the information for me. I don't have to click anything. I just have to load it in and it's done. Once I hit create, you'll see in a matter of seconds, all of the views in my project were created from that Excel file. The next step is going to be creating those dependent views, right? So I could come here and load in those views again. So I'm going to go to my view tab. I'm going to load in those views from my Excel file. And the difference here is now I'm going to have my duplicate option selected, and it's going to duplicate as dependent from those previous plans. And it's going to create the 2 parts for my towers, right? Hit create again in a fraction of a second. All of my dependent views were created. This is incredible. This is going to save me so much time in my project setup. Sometimes, this is just 2 dependent views, but a lot of times I have 8, 10, 12 sectors of a building if it's a really large building that I need to create dependent views for. It's a really repetitive process that just takes up so much time. The next step is creating all my sheets. So this is going to bring me to the sheets portion. And again, I'm going to load in my pre-created Excel file. And really quickly, you could see that it just fills out the information with the title block. And I can select create. And again, in a fraction of a second or a second and a half, all of my sheets in my project were created. Right? How incredible is that? And the last step is going to be to place all the views on my sheets. And this is going to bring me to my Manage tab of the Sheet View Manager. So once I go to my Manage tab, I can load in that last Excel file, which is going to place every view on its corresponding sheet. And I can also specify a location. I'm going to start with placing them all at the bottom right. And afterwards, I'm going to show you how we can use BIMrx to move and align those elements. So this is going to take the longest time. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, of course this is taking such a long time. You already created all these Excel files. It's going to take much longer for me to do it. But the real kicker is I can actually create cartoon sets standard to my company. I can do this and have every project based off of the same Excel template. hand it over to each PM or project manager, and then they can modify it as needed. So it could really be as simple as I'm showing you right now. You can see that took 11 seconds. And now all of the views have been placed on my sheets, right? Amazing. A next problem I'm facing with my setup is having to modify the location of these views, right? This happens a lot in a project. Sometimes I need to move the view on my sheet to make room for other elements like a legend or other details, things like that. And I want all of my Part A plans for this example to align, right? I need to move them all to that location. So when I'm flipping through my set, they're all in the exact same place in my drawing set. BIMrx allows me to do this so easily. With just a few clicks of a button, I can come to my Manage tab, my View Alignment, specify that first plan, right, that I moved, and then come back and select all of the other Part A plans. I can multi-select, hit Create, and then just like that, all of my views are aligned. If I come to any Part A plan, you'll see that they were all moved. This is going to save me so much time. The last step of the Sheet View Manager that I want to show you here, coming to my Manage tab, is the PDF renamer. Now, a lot of times when I'm exporting drawings out of Revit, I have an issue with the way that it's being exported, right? So I can't really specify the sheet name when I'm exporting individual PDFs. It kind of automatically adds, you know, the model name, the word sheet, so on and so forth. Now I would have to come back and manually change these names. You can imagine if I have hundreds of sheets in my drawing set, this would take a lot of time. And every time I have to re-export, I have to do this process again. In time constraints of a deadline, this is really time consuming and a task that I don't really want to spend my time doing. So when I come to my PDF renamer, I can actually specify which parameters I want to use to rename my PDF. So I can specify the sheet number, I can add as many rows as I want, specify any parameters that I want, add a suffix or a prefix to maybe divide those parameters. And when I come to my create, I can specify any location that I have access to on my computer, on my server, etc. And with one click, it's going to rename all of those PDFs. You can see here now it was renamed with that sheet number and the sheet name. So quick and so easy.